You may have noticed that our cocoa sector is facing a debt crisis. The farmers are in a dilemma. Do you smuggle it, or do you still sell it to COCOBOD? That is a question that all farmers are having to grapple with because they aren't being paid. And so the president has called for an emergency cabinet session tomorrow to deal with this. As you know, cocoa is a major foreign exchange earner, and if we don't fix this, it has a ripple effect on the economy, but also on poor farmers who have cultivated and expecting something in return. And so this is a major conversation indeed. The president is hoping that tomorrow, with his team together, they can find a solution to this particular problem. So what really is what we know so far as this is concerned? If you look at the funding gaps that we have currently bags of 530,000 bags sold, 50,000 bags without buyers. So sitting there, somebody needs to buy that. There's a challenge there that we'll illustrate for you very shortly. And you have 70,000 bags yet to be cultivated. The problem is here, but then you also have here. Altogether would affect your ability to produce enough to make the funds available for other things, the economy, etc. Now, remember that COCOBOD, by this time in previous years, would have gone for the syndicated loan. That money would have arrived some 1.3 billion thereabout, and that would have helped COCOBOD deal with the challenges that they're currently facing. But the challenge wouldn't be there at all, because the farmers would have been paid, and then the economy would have also benefited from that. That was cancelled, I believe, in the 2023-2024 crop season, because COCOBOD felt they need to change strategy. It was difficult then at the time because of our debt restructuring. It made it impossible for us to go out there and borrow, right? So that was cancelled. They had to find another way of raising capital. So Offtaker financing was then introduced into the mix. That then poses another challenge, and we'll hear from the produce buying companies when they join us pretty shortly. This is the picture, fundamentally for me, where the problem is. So you have the world price that is currently at 3,944, but at farm gate, we bought the cocoa at 5,272. That's a loss of $1,328. That, in a nutshell, is a problem with COCOBOD and the debt crisis. Somewhere last year when we were making the purchase, or somewhere in September thereabout, we bought it at 5,272 from the farmers. But then we go to the market to sell, and prices have dropped to 3,944. So what are you going to do? Nobody wants to sell now. For the 50,000 that is currently left sitting there, nobody wants to sell because the world prices has dropped quite significantly. We'll get the farmers themselves weighing on this. And this is the trend I'm talking about. So somewhere in September, you see where it is in terms of the price trajectory was there somewhere, right? But now it's dropped so fast. So the key question then is, what sort of forecasting did COCOBOD do? Was this obvious that the price of cocoa, the bean, was going to fall on the world market? And it was very clear at the time, and I believe COCOBOD will have a forecasting department, or must have a forecasting department, that is able to look into the crystal ball to make decisions. And what really happened here? Didn't we see this coming? If we speak to the produce buying companies, they tell us that this was obvious, that there was a forecast that says that the prices were going to drop. So really what happened there, we will try and understand that. So this is how COCOBOD does its own purchases in terms of determining the farm gate price. They look at the expected world price, and that is where the forecasting question comes to play. And that is where I guess they got it wrong, and horribly wrong, which is hitting our pockets. Expected production, exchange rate, outstanding cocoa commitments. Exchange rate is strong in terms of the cedi's appreciation against the dollar, but that also has another challenge because the cedi is so strong, you're not getting as much. You would if the cedi was, say, less strong against the dollar, because we are going to pay the farmers not in dollars, you're going to pay them in cedis. So that's another challenge there when it comes to the appreciation of the cedi. But then is the question, what price at the time when decisions were being made, cocoa prices at farm gate, announcement this September of 2025, that mark I showed you, at the time that we were making that announcement, of course, world price was 7,267. Good price. So we're very confident that if we offer the farmers 5,272, good deal. Because you're still going to make quite a killing on this, right? And so the 70% world price is the promise that was made to them. And so we gave them that, right? We gave them that. Farmers were happy. But then we saw what happened. And that is probably the commodity challenge. It's the same questions around gold right now. It just will change in a year. And then the question then becomes, where are your buffers? And where is the planning to anticipate and to avert it taking a significant dip and then affecting economy as fragile as ours? We're seeing this play out in the case of cocoa. I guess there are lessons there. And tomorrow the president will sit with his team and try and fix it. But the cocoa problem is not just buying the beans and paying the farmers. Is they have to find money to do fertilizers, do insecticides, do spraying, flour, and then also do scholarship scheme. All promise from last year. The government was keeping its promise to the farmers, right? I mean, but that's really what it is. You make a promise, you have to keep it, in spite of what is going to happen on the world market. I guess the question then is anticipating. You always need to ask yourself when you're managing the economy, what really could be the worst case scenario a year down the line? If that scenario plays out, what will be our response? I guess it's a question that the president will be asking his team tomorrow. When we were making these promises and putting this on the paper for the farmers, did we anticipate this? And if we did, what was our strategy to intervene? I guess that will clarify tomorrow when the president meets his team. So you've seen that there's cocoa politics at play here. Because the minority, they're weighing in. Of course, you can expect that to happen. And so they raised a few issues, including poor cocoa price forecasting, a point I just made. They've raised that, right? We'll try and get a fair bit from that side too, as far as this is concerned. But bottom line, Ghana's total exports in 2025 came down to 3.8 billion. That's a lot of money, right? And then you have the annual trend of cocoa production has gone up, right? That's there. So going up, lots of money coming in. Because there was a time we did a PM Express here when cocoa prices went through the roof, historical highs, never seen before, just like gold. 2 years ago, I believe, we were very, very high as far as cocoa is concerned, and it has dropped. So we made a killing from cocoa, right? As far as that is concerned, the time when cocoa prices was really, really high. And look at our Ivory Coast versus us. This has always been a challenge for me when I look at this, because how come Ivory Coast is doing so well? If you look at the Ivorians, they're doing very well at their 1.8 million in terms of what they are producing. We are here with 650. We can definitely do better. And then we are talking about Ecuador, which is 570,000 tons. And that clearly shows there is still an opportunity for us to even do better. But if you are not paying farmers, they are not incentivized to do more. There's also the Galamsey alternative, which many are turning to because it is immediate cash that they get. And then you look at the question of the farmer's dilemma. It's really about the farmers, bottom line. So how do you fix this problem? Not only for now, but for long term. Many will tell you that this has been coming for years. So my panelists will join me for a conversation tonight on this cocoa debt crisis. And thank you very much for staying with us here on PM Express. And it is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter Toothpaste, and Stanbic CIB Impact Series. Now, Ghana, let's talk water tanks. Now, do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it is not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex Tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, it is durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Syntex tanks are strong, you're tough. Let's talk about Pepsodent Cavity Fighter tonight. Every time we eat, food and sugars are trapped between our teeth, leading to decay, gum disease, and in some cases, foul breath. Brushing your teeth every morning and night with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter is the right thing to do because it protects them. It gives them strength. It seals tiny and invisible holes in your teeth. This prevents cavities and keeps your teeth strong and mouth healthy. Let's talk about Stanbic, because some see challenges, we see opportunities. Where others spot risk, we unlock value. At Stanbic Corporate and Investment Banking, they partner with businesses driving Ghana and Africa's growth, from energy to mining, infrastructure to trade to finance. The ideas and enterprises that empower economies are there. Their partnerships with market leaders in the energy, trade, and mining sectors prove that when ambition meets expertise, growth is inevitable. You can call them on 0302815789 to speak to one of the team members who can help you navigate this. My guest joining me in the studio tonight, we have Samuel Ademako, the president of the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association, the famous LBC, and he joins me in the studio. I'm grateful you could join me. You did a press conference, I believe, last week.
Yes, correct.
Which was quite insightful in terms of the issues that are important to you. Also joining me, Stephen, he's a former head of the... I can't believe that.
You called me Stephen again.
Now, Fifi Wafo.
I prefer
that's how I know him. I was Stephen, because I was wondering, am I still referring to you? Anyway, that's Fifi Wafo.
But that's actually my name.
I know, but it sounded very awkward.
Yeah, why Stephen?
Stephen saying. That's Fifi Wafo, former head of public affairs at COCOBOD, joins us in the studio. And Patrick Danso is the cocoa farmer, who join us on Zoom, and Jerome Kweku-Sam is the head of public affairs at COCOBOD, and I'm delighted that all of you get to join us. And we're having this conversation hours before the emergency cabinet meeting tomorrow. Once there's an emergency attached to it, it tells you it's a major, major national issue. And so let's see if we can understand this ahead of tomorrow, because this has been done in our name, tomorrow's meeting. I want to start with the cocoa farmer, who is joining us on Zoom. He will join us pretty shortly, but that would have been a perfect place to start. But without him just yet, I will go to my LBC friend who did a press conference last week, because they interface with the farmers. So what really is the issue? What was the problem?
Yes, thank you, Evans, and good morning, viewers. You would agree with me that with all the stakeholders, it was LBCs that came last to talk. We came to clear issues that were in the public domain.
Yes, for the avoidance of doubt, the LBCs, what do you do, briefly?
The LBCs are basically licensed by COCOBOD to go and buy cocoa from the farmers and deliver to COCOBOD at various takeover centers. So we are regulated by COCOBOD. So our press conference, of course, was basically to clear the airwaves in terms of our relationship with our farmers. Because the perception was that farmers perceive that we have collected cocoa, delivered to COCOBOD, and we are refusing to pay them.
You're taking the money and you're not paying them.
So basically, prior to that, we met the farmers, explained to them that it is under the current model of sales that this challenge has come. So our press conference was basically to address the issue of funding. And Evans, you would agree with me that this model is not the syndicated model where COCOBOD secures money and then give to us. So basically, the model is in the hands of traders. So it's traders who basically provide the money, and then it enables us to go to the field. So I also need to indicate to viewers that apart from this situation has brought us to this table, for the past 7 years, the LBCs have been pre-financing the cocoa business.
Past 7?
7 years, 7 good years, where we go to the banks, borrow money, go and buy cocoa from farmers, and then we deliver to COCOBOD, and then we wait until we are paid. And in our press conference, we indicated that 2023-24, where we went to borrow from the banks, delivered cocoa to COCOBOD, and it took 9 months before we were paid. Nobody heard of us. Now, as a result of this model that we felt that it would have, all things being equal, there wouldn't have been problem. Some farmers happen not to receive their money on time. Now, let me explain why the farmers say we owe them. As an LBC, we have purchasing clerks, about 50,000 purchasing clerks in the various communities where farmers live. So as a result of that, the purchasing clerks have a relationship with the farmers, a trust-building relationship. So in a situation where the purchasing clerk doesn't even have money, the farmer will give his cocoa to the purchasing clerk, deliver to the LBC, with the hope that when the LBC gives you money, I'll be paid. So this is the transaction that went on. And as a result of that, the delay because of the buying model, there was a delay.
And when you're buying from the purchase guys buying, is buying at a set price?
Yes, COCOBOD fixed the price, fixed our margins. So as a result of this relationship, some farmers, some LBCs couldn't send money to the purchasing class. And that is what came into the airwaves as if LBCs had borrowed cocoa from farmers and have not been paying. But the truth of the matter is that for the past 7 years, we have been at the forefront of moving cocoa from the farmers. As in some of the media houses, I indicated that we are the fulcrum. We interface. In fact, let me indicate that...
But I have a question, though. I mean, if you've always borrowed...
Yeah, let me indicate that 2020, 23, 24, when that happened, we even wrote to COCOBOD that, look, we need to be compensated as a result of the long delay in paying us.
Were you compensated?
We were not. We were not. So I need to indicate that we are not fighting COCOBOD, neither are we fighting government.
Here's a question. If you've always borrowed to pay the farmer in 7 years, why are you not doing the same now?
Under 2024-25 cocoa season, a lot of our members borrowed. So I did indicate that we owe the banks more than we even owe the farmers, because the money we borrowed from the banks to provide cocoa to COCOBOD with the hope that the traders will come for the cocoa, they have not come for it.
Why are they not coming?
You look at there are so many complications. One of them is the terminal price issues. One of them is the contractual aspect, which I believe COCOBOD rep here would address that. But the truth of the matter is that we owe the banks more than the farmers. Of course, the farmers are major principal actors. So obviously, once we owe farmers, and any of them, irrespective of their number making noise, we need to address that. And we needed to set the record straight, setting the record straight because our principal financiers, that's the banks that we have borrowed money from, we need to also indicate that we have not Nicodemously, let me put it this way, gone for the money from COCOBOD, and then we have refused not to pay them. So these are the facts that culminated in us coming to hold our press conference. Of course, we used that opportunity to also address certain issues that we felt.
And we'll come to that because you
yes.
had some bigger issues beyond
That's
just
right.
the funding and the challenges
That's
that
right.
are currently in
Yes,
operation.
thank you.
So basically, if the traders buy,
correct.
you're fine.
Correct. If they come and they pick the cocoa, they buy the cocoa, with this model that we are operating, we will address that. But I think COCOBOD will address some of the issues.
Okay.
Why
They are not coming.
yes, or why these issues are happening.
Okay, but COCOBOD also owes you money.
Yes, that is COCOBOD is our principal.
How much you know? Roughly?
To go specific to the figures, as you know, some have indicated 10 billion and
10 billion
CE,
what?
Ghana cedis, and CE indicated that it's around 11 billion. Now, let me also use this opportunity to indicate that it is not only this current season. Some of our members, 2025-26, 2 years ago, have not been paid. And on this channel, I indicated that to the tune of $185 million. They've not been paid. We haven't come out to raise any issues. So the situation is more complex.
So COCOBOD must find between 10 and 11 billion.
Correct. As the issues are to settle.
Before
yes.
this crisis could be resolved.
Yes. So the good thing is that we've been engaging with COCOBOD. Together, we are addressing the issues. There are good indication that wherever COCOBOD will find money, they will find money. Not only COCOBOD, Ministry of Finance would find money to address these issues.
Let me bring in a friend from COCOBOD then into the conversation. So, Jerome, what's the problem?
Thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to our viewers across the globe, particularly to, the cocoa farmer. First and foremost, I think that as it has the CEO has indicated, it is important for me to also stress the point that under no circumstance should the cocoa farmer face the challenge that he or she is facing now. Because I was born into a cocoa growing family and also hail from Sefi, also in the Western North region. So I really understand what it takes for somebody to be a cocoa farmer. So after the person has gone through all this hectic situation to harvest his or her cocoa, I mean, it is unacceptable for the person to experience what he or she is experiencing now. So on the basis of that, the CEO has apologized to, I mean, the cocoa farmers, not because he has done something wrong, but I mean, he bears the ultimate responsibility, and as such, he has shown leadership, I mean, to that effect. You see, it is quite painful when we decide to politicize this whole issue. When we do that, we lose our core focus, which is to the cocoa farmer finding a lasting solution to what has happened. Evans, it is legitimate for you to raise a concern, or the cocoa farmer to raise a concern. But I find it very dishonest when I hear political actors, in this instance, the minority, paint the picture as though this is a situation just happening. In fact, they have alluded to a certain proposition that COCOBOD owes 10 billion to the LBCs, all right, owes 10 billion. And you did ask the question that, do we need 10 billion to deal with this situation? The answer is no. It is not 10 billion needed for this to solve, because we have indicated that we've been able to purchase about 580,000 out of the 650 projected. And out of this 580,000, 530,000 have been assigned to the off-takers. So in this regard, monies are being paid and monies are coming in, because these are collections that you need to make. But the CEO was particular about a certain figure, which is the 50,000, which have not been assigned to off-takers. So this is the quantity that we are talking about. And this has brought about the whole issue. Because if you have assigned 530,000, with that one, you know that the monies will be coming. That is why in an interview of mine, I did indicate that monies have been paid as at November, December, January, and even February, because collections are made. And as and when monies comes in, the LBCs are being paid to defray some of the cost or the debt that COCOBOD owes to them.
So you've cleared part of the LBC?
Yeah, so that is what I told you, that for the 530 that have been assigned, monies have been coming in. And that is a fact.
So some of the LBCs have been...
Of course, you see, and under the financing model that we inherited, it is the off-taker that pre-finances the purchase of the cocoa, and the off-taker goes ahead to determine the LBC, even to be given the fund. So on the basis of that, if either the 60-40 or the 80-20, that we are now undertaken. So when the 80% comes, or when the 60% comes, it has been allocated to a particular LBC that will have to do what? Used for the purchase of what? Of the cocoa. So on the basis of that, the LBC is able to pay for the cocoa that LBC has purchased from what? From the cocoa farmer. So you cannot, in a generic sense, say that it is applicable to what? To all cocoa farmers. In this instance, you cannot make that statement that it is applicable to all of them. It is not. However, we've acknowledged the fact that this 50,000 ought to be what? Ought to be serviced or ought to be paid for. And that has been stated by the chief executive and every executive of COCOBOD.
You're going to take a hit on that, are you not?
You see,
because of the difference between what you bought at the farm gate and what the world price is.
And I was going to come there, because the CE has stated that we inherited some 333,767 rollover. And he also went ahead to say that this is unprecedented. The unprecedented because we have not inherited this quantum of rollover.
What is rollover?
In fact, the rollover means that you've had a contract, you've signed a contract to deliver X amount of cocoa bean to the off-taker, but quite unfortunately, you were unable. So if you sign on to a contract of maybe 10,000 metric tons, but at the end of the year, you were able to supply maybe 5,000. So you have 5,000 remaining that you owe as an obligation to the off-taker. But quite unfortunately, some circumstances beyond possibly your control, or if you did not have your forecasting and projections right, all this can amount to you having, or being unable to deliver whatever that you sign on to. So we inherited that 333,000 and over. In 2016, what we left, or the Opuni-led administration left, was 68,000. It must be put on record, 68,000. And it must also be established that it is not necessarily wrong that, or it is not the case always, that it will adversely affect your finances. And I say so because during the days of Dr. Opuni, he left a rollover which had a higher price. But fortunately or unfortunately, in the 2017-2018, we've had a drop of the price of cocoa about $870 on the international market. So if you are experiencing a situation like that, then it means that you are now using a low price contract to service what? A high price contract. But the reverse is the case today. Because during the days of the Fifi and the Honorable Boahin-led administration, when they were leaving the 2024, oh, please hold on. I mean, you were part of that administration.
Go on.
I'm just wondering the question you asked and the kind of
to...
conversation that's happening here.
It's okay. Don't worry.
You understand? So now, when we came into 2024, the 2023 rollover that they left, it was at a price of $2,600 $2,600. And here is the case now, you are using over $4,850. Even if you are to consider, or even to use the farm gate price, which was given to the cocoa farmer, which is $3,100, then it means that you are going to be needing $500 extra US on every ton of cocoa that you service to the LBC.
Yeah.
That you service to
let's come to your responsibility then, because last year you made an offer to the farmers. In fact, you announced a new price to the farmers.
Yes.
When you were doing that, did you forecast what the price will land when that promise was made to the farmers?
Which promise? Because if it is a price that
it wasn't even the promise.
No, if it is a price,
you told the price that you.
Yes. So if it is a price that
which was above 5,000.
You understand? That is the FOB.
Yes.
You understand? So we declared an FOB of 7,200, and as at that time the price was hovering around $7,000 to $8,000.
Exactly.
You understand? $7,000 to $8,000, and we were able to declare what? An FOB of 7,200.
What sort of forecasting went into that?
We were able to do that because, as at that time, we've been able to service a chunk of the rollover that was bequeathed to this current administration. Because if you are setting the FOB, if you are setting your FOB, what you have to put into consideration is that now you've made a projection of maybe having 500,000 metric tons, maybe 2027. So in 2027, if I am projecting to have 500,000 metric tons, out of this 500,000 tons, maybe I am projecting to have 100,000 being what? The light crop. Obviously, the price of the light crop will be discounted because you cannot sell it at the same price of the main crop. It is never the case. So if you do that, then you also put into consideration if you are having rollovers, because if you are having a rollover at a certain price, you put all these variables or factors together, and that will help you to come to a determination of the free on board what price that you are going to get. And that is what, after we've been able to service a chunk of it, we were able to declare an FOB of 7,200. And out of it, 70% of it, which in nominal figures came to 5,040 to the farmer. Even though in 2024, the price shot up to about the 9,000, 10, 11, 12,000. But because Fifi knew and the administration knew that they had this XYZ rollover to service, they were able to declare an FOB of only $4,850. $4,850. And this was unexplained. to the ordinary, this was unexplained to the ordinary Ghanaian.
I want to come back to the fundamental issue. So the LBCs, like the cocoa farmer,
yes,
I guess is the primary focus, right? He says you owe him. If you pay him, and basically he can, how much you owe him? I'm talking about the LBCs.
The LBCs. Yeah. So we owe the LBC in a region of 10 billion.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So when are you going to settle that?
And I've told you that out of this 10 billion that you owe the LBC, when you consider the new financing model, which the LBC purely understands and FIFI understands, it is the off-taker that pre-finances the purchase of the cocoa. Mm-hmm. And that point has been established and it has never been contested. So if it is the off-taker who is financing or pre-financing the purchase of the cocoa, as and when the cocoa is shipped, the off-taker brings the 80 or the 60%, then when shipment is done, the remaining is being brought in. That is why I did indicate that it is collection that we are making. But where our focus is now is the 50,000, which unfortunately, when it was delivered to COCOBOD, the price had drastically reduced on the international market. So it is also never the case that you did not forward sell the beans, because if you are projected 650,000 to sell, and you've been able to sell or purchase 580,000, this is around 89%. So if anybody makes an argument that you have not been able to forward sell, and even when we were doing the syndication, we would be forwarding selling about 70%, sometimes 75%. So it can never be accurate for somebody to argue that you were unable to forward sell the cocoa bean when you had the chance.
Okay.
And the point also is that, look, if I am pre-financing the purchase of the cocoa, then it means that wherever that I'm finding the money, if I am procuring or getting a loan from the bank, I am going to bear the interest on whichever amount of money that I have secured from what? From the bank. And at the same time, I have given you a condition that because of your inability to sign on to syndication, which became a problem for you, because I have a letter which was written on the 22nd of August, I think 24th of August, as at 2024. It came from Public Affairs and it was signed by the Honorable Buahinedu, which he indicated that we had a rollover, and as a result of that, we are undertaking a syndication. But quite unfortunately, there was no evidence to that effect that any money was procured under syndication for the 2024-2025 season. So this clearly established the proposition that we have been making, that indeed there was no financial institution that was ready to commit a dime of a dollar into the purchase of cocoa, because you did not have the financials to present.
I'll come to you. Again, my mind is always on the cocoa farmer.
Same as me.
So exactly, which you started with.
Yes.
And I want to return there, because it probably needs to be solved. I mean, tomorrow, obviously, the cabinet would.
Of course.
For us to understand where this will lie. He's made a point, I'll come to you, but I want to get... He's made a point that as far as paying you is concerned, the pre-financing is a job of the off-taker.
Correct.
Right? So that's true. So is the off-taker that must solve the problem?
Correct.
Is that your understanding?
Yes.
And not necessarily COCOBOD?
Yes. So our premise is that, yes, under this financing model is the off-taker. Mm-hmm. But as I indicated, we needed to let the farmers know that we have not collected any money and refuse to pay them. Now, let me also indicate that once we owe the farmers, that I indicated a few of the farmers, the bulk of the institution that we owe is the banks. So, you know, in financing management, you need to also set the record straight. So as COCOBOD has indicated that the off-takers need to bring the money. So I need to indicate that we have been talking to COCOBOD. We are looking at how monies will be raised. Our appeal to COCOBOD, as they even wait for the off-takers to bring money, COCOBOD and Ministry of Finance should find a way.
He's made a point about as they receive money, they pay.
Correct. They've been paying. Yes, okay. They've been paying, as the records indicated, that since November when the farmers started making noise, they've been paying, but it's not significantly enough.
You also managed to pay some of the farmers?
Yes, we have paid substantial part of the farmers. Our own members have even looked for money to settle a substantial part of the farmers. So we have acknowledged that COCOBOD has been paying. Not that it's a ground zero, but we felt that the payment should be significantly enough.
I'll come there and break down. So how many farmers do you think are left to be settled? Because we can have a full picture. Because you deal with the farmer, you have a total number. I'll come to that. I'll break it down.
Thank you.
But Fifi, I get the sense from what your colleague is saying from COCOBOD that the rollover was a major part of the problem. You left them with a huge burden.
You know what? I am at a sea as to what exactly Jerome was doing. You asked him a specific question, and the question was the problem and how COCOBOD was dealing with it, and now he was all over the place talking about almost everything under the sun. This is the problem. Ghana COCOBOD, before you start every season, every year, you must have a visibility. Know exactly how much you expect to come in, and based on that, determine how much you pay to the cocoa farmer, and beyond that, also know how much you spend on industry cost. Indeed, at the time the PPRC, that's the Producer Price Review Committees, met and determined the price, they told us, Ghanaians, that they are going to pay 5,040 to the cocoa farmer, and then the remaining amount to be spent on industry cost. So the FOB price, the weighted average, was going to be 7,200. The weighted average is you arrive at the weighted average, taking into consideration how much you pay the cocoa farmer, how much industry costs, and also take into consideration rollover contracts you have. So I've heard them making all manner of statements to the effect that there was rollover contract and it's a debt on COCOBOD books, and you ask yourself, how does rollover become a debt on COCOBOD books? Rollover contracts at the Producer Price Review Committee, where you determine the price of cocoa, you take into consideration, and I remember very well the Finance Minister, Dr. Arthur Forson, saying that because of the rollover contract, that's what brought down the weighted average. Because at the time of announcing the producer price, August last year, the world market price was hovering around 10,000, 12,000. But he indicated that because there was so much rollover contracts, so it brought down the weighted average. So the weighted average was actually captured and taken into consideration before the price was determined. Usually, before you determine the price, you should have done some forward sales to have a visibility in terms of how much you expect to come in. And of course, the cocoa you have, you use it for sports. At the time, the price was so high, but there was one thing probably they may not have taken into consideration. Spot price was high, but the futures price was quite lower. They decided to sell spots and not take advantage of the futures market because the spot price was something around 10,000, 12,000, but the futures market was around 7,000. Of course, they wanted to take advantage of the spot price, forgetting that with spot price, people only go to spot when they need a cocoa immediately. So they buy and pay for it and move on. But the futures is over a period of time. All those who follow the cocoa industry will tell you that at the time, demand was dropping. So in terms of projections, you were not going to have a futures market around 12,000, just as you had spot price around 12,000. So the futures price was around 7,000. They did not sell at that time. They waited for the price to drop to the level we see today. They are telling us that, oh, all that we have is about 5,000 or 50,000. We thank God, if indeed that is the truth.
I think it says 50,000.
Yes, 50,000. If indeed.
We indicated about 70,000.
Okay, well, our information is that it's way more than that. And that is why it has led us to a point where Cabinet is meeting tomorrow because it's a crisis situation. We are reliably informed that the cocoa that has not been sold is about 300,000 metric tons. I remember very well When I first came out and said that they have about 300,000 metric tons of cocoa they've not sold, and indeed the old license buying companies are about 11 billion, they came out to say that, oh, where are we getting all those figures? Now they are confirming that indeed the old license buying companies are about 11 billion. They are not saying that, well, they do not have 300,000 metric tons of cocoa unsold. Well, the chickens will come home to roost very soon. The problem we face today...
So they've bought it from the farmers.
They bought it from the farmers.
But have the money to sell it.
They've not... Yes. You see, they are telling you that, well, the off-takers have not released money. It does not work that way. Usually, or all the time, what happens is that the moment COCOBOD ships, the off-taker does not wait till they take delivery of cocoa before they pay. They make payment the moment you ship the document or you send the document after shipment. Monies are released. So if indeed they have sold 530,000 metric tons, why has the money not been released? The money has not been released because that claim that they have sold 530,000 is questionable. Because if indeed they have sold the cocoa as they are claiming, why has the money not been released? Ask anybody at trading room or shipping at CMC that when do monies come in? They will tell you that the moment you ship and the document is sent to the buyer, monies are released. And they are claiming that yes, they have sold. I started getting calls somewhere around November, December, that the warehouses were getting full. Initially, I was lost as to what was happening. But they have cocoa in the warehouses where they've not been so able to sell. It is because the price has dropped. The situation we find ourselves in now, every ton of cocoa you sell, you require 7,200 because that was the projection they made. You take into consideration all other industry costs plus the farmer's margin. That was the weighted average they used. Now the prices are 3,900. If they should sell today, you need more than $3,000 extra before you are able to service a ton of cocoa. And that is the challenge we have. Unfortunately, they are not ready to face the truth, or they are not ready to tell you what the real situation is, so that we all can, as a people, look at how we can address the issue. They go around with all manner of stories. We inherited this was not done, we inherited that.
But it's factual that you had a significant rollover. What is the rollover quantum? So
I am just saying that the rollover in this conversation is not even necessary. The reason why
but for the avoidance of doubt, factual purposes, he's quoted a figure when it comes to rollover, and has explained that. The reason
why, Evans, I'm making this point about rollover not being necessary in the conversation is that at PPRC, my friend Mr. Dimadu here.
What is PPRC?
The Producer Price Review Committee is a member of PPRC. When you go for PPRC meeting, rollover contract is taken into consideration before you determine the price. He's here to confirm that. You rollover contracts because you know very well that, okay, so if the rollover contracts were 2,300, 2,600, or 2,800, it will drop down the figure you'll be able to arrive at, taking into consideration the sales you've made and then how much you project to sell. So no matter the quantity of rollover contract, because it has been factored into the price determination at the PPRC, it does not become an issue.
You're saying that last year when the finance minister was announcing a new price,
they would
have factored that in.
Yes.
And so arrived at that.
And at 7,200. So if anyone comes to you and says that we are in this situation because of rollover contract, it is either maybe in a very surprising way in the last year, they determined price without taking into consideration rollover contract. But I remember when the price was announced, the conversation that ensued after the announcement, it was mentioned that they took into consideration rollover contract as was expected. So if anybody comes to you with a conversation about rollover contract, you must question where that person coming from.
What was the rollover quantum?
So the rollover quantum, I have to even come back to you on that because I remember yes, it was 330,000 metric tons. That was a rollover contract that had not been serviced. But indeed, my checks show that even January 2025, some of these rollover contracts had been serviced. and brought down the figure less than 200,000 metric tons. But they go around saying all manner of things.
But why did you leave that much?
So the rollover contracts come as
it takes 350.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's.
But you see,
why
they come as a result of your inability to meet your targets. And all of us are very much aware of how Galamsey affected our production, how Sulin Shoot affected our production, as well as the dry spell, which we experienced. So you are able to meet your projection. And it wasn't just a season. It's something that happened, I think, within 3 seasons. That's how you... And it is not a new thing.
Yeah, but I think the figure you mentioned is unprecedented.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that no one must come to this conversation claiming that the problem we have faced today is as a result of rollover contracts. Anyone who says that does not understand the cocoa industry or has not been properly been briefed. Because if you have been briefed properly, you will not even engage in that conversation because it has been taken care of at the PPRC. I remember somebody writing an article to the effect that, well, the rollover contract was this, and this is how much COCOBOD is going to lose as a result of that, so it becomes part of COCOBOD debt. And you ask yourself, who briefed this person? What is the understanding of this person in the conversation? You know what? It is important, and I was happy when I heard that the president has called for an emergency cabinet meeting to address this. The reason why I got happy about that is the fact that if you listen to the conversation ongoing, you get a feeling that some people want to look good. So they do not want to let the real problems come to the table so that we find solutions to it. And my expectation is that tomorrow when cabinet meets, the relevant questions will be asked and the real solutions will be preferred.
Yeah,
I said it at the beginning of the conversation that we are at the stage where there are only 2 things that can happen. One, it is for government to say that because we got our projections wrong, all that they are doing is telling us that they determined cocoa producer price with guesswork, not projections based on data.
Yeah, I mean, let me clarify. I'll come to you. Samuel, so the question around the off-takers, he explains that the way it works is once the documents are sent, monies are released. COCOBOD says 530,000 bags, I believe, have been sold.
Metric tons
have been sold. Do you understand and appreciate why, if it's being sold, why they don't have the money?
Yes, Evans, thank you so much.
No, he was asking.
No, him.
No,
I want to understand that before I come to him.
Evans,
I would have been glad though.
It's the guy who
Evans,
is suffering.
thank you so much. You see,
No, but see, to be fair to he's not a person to answer that question.
I know. I just want to see if he understands.
Yes,
he understands what's because it's money. If my money is locked somewhere, I need to find out.
Thank you so much. I don't work at COCOBOD, but as a business, borrowing money from the bank, we should understand what are the
exactly.
dynamics.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
if my money is locked somewhere, I'll go and find out.
COCOBOD got itself involved in other things that were not its core business. COCOBOD's core business is to bring cocoa from the farmers and sell. So you are aware that it is all over. Wait, I need to explain why.
I want to wait. I get a perspective. You know what? I've been very silent.
Wait, Evans. Let me explain why.
I think must find solutions.
No, let me explain why.
Getting into tangential.
The reason.
No, it's not tangential.
The reason why I asked because I want to understand his perspective.
We have a repertoire. Evans, wait.
How do we know?
Evans, wait. We have a repertoire. Our council is made up of experience.
Let me hear your understanding.
You see, as a business, we say, yes, COCOBOD owes us. Yeah. But we also understand the dynamics at COCOBOD. Yeah. Because COCOBOD got itself involved in non-core business. COCOBOD, you are aware, COCOBOD has been involved in road construction and so many things.
Is that why?
Now wait.
I want to hear.
That's the question
when I was on one of the platforms with Jerome admitted that, look, money came in, but they had some contractual obligations of which they needed to settle. So I said, oh, Jerome, you should have prioritized us because we are at the fulcrum of the business. And therefore, if you even have some contractual obligations, you should have financially engineered, renegotiated, and settle us.
Because really, in your case, it's a farmer fundamentally.
Correct.
Yeah,
so you see, so allow me to explain the dynamics.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked you.
Yes, thank you, my brother.
Because I'd be very surprised if you were taking loans on behalf of COCOBOD and you don't understand what's happening.
Yes, we know all the nitty-gritty.
So that's why I want to hear your thoughts.
Yes,
I want to hear your perspective.
So Jerome indicated that, look, money came in. I mean, some contractual obligations, as he indicated, AFD, Africa Development Bank loan, road contractors, agrochemical suppliers, all these are feeding on the very core activity that LBCs are involved in. And that is why we were also insistent that certain aspects...
You're disrupting his train of thought.
But I'm only making the point that it's not a case that
disrupting his train of thought.
It's not a case that off-takers have not released the money, but the monies have been released and spent on something.
Don't answer that.
That's what you said.
Continue your point.
No, so we understand as businesses...
You were talking about you've been told that they were contractual...
As businesses... regulated by COCOBOD, we understand the dynamics. That is why our appeal is that wherever COCOBOD will find money, together with Ministry of Finance, they should get us the money for us to settle the farmers.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm interested in the point you made, that you were told that they ADB money?
Yeah, Africa Development Bank. Maybe COCOBOD.
Funds. No, he said it was saying, but I want to hear your understanding.
Yeah, Africa Development
and then it came into COCOBOD. Or they had to settle that? What was it exactly?
No, they needed to settle those obligations. At the expense of we paying those
Did some also go to roads?
Yes, road contractors and others were paid. But the nitty-gritty is COCOBOD will explain. Now, what we are indicating is that, look, we owe some farmers. Yeah. We also owe the banks. Now, what we need to do is get money, address this debt that the LBC is owing. As I indicated, for the past 6 years, 7 years, we've been pre-financing.
And you've been getting your money when you pre-finance?
We pre-finance, we don't get our money on time. But the fortunate thing is that the way we operate is that we don't owe the farmers. Now,
because you pay up front?
We pay up front, and then we carry all the burden, as I indicated.
But something fundamental would have changed.
Something fundamental would have changed because we did the pre-financing 2024-25. We've done 2025-26. And then, as I explained, in terms of the relationship between purchasing clerks and then the farmers, some purchasing clerks pick cocoa delivered to LBCs with the hope that the money will come back. Now, as COCOBOD has indicated, our cocoa has become so expensive, irrespective of whatever it is. So if the sales is not just forward sales, because I believe COCOBOD and Fifi here should explain the dynamics of forward sales. You see, you do forward sales when you understand the syndication, it becomes more solid. But I don't need to go in that now. What we are indicating is that there is a challenge. Expected inflows and COCOBOD obligations has brought us where we are. So we need to appeal to COCOBOD to go and get the money through Ministry of Finance so that we settle.
I almost hear you say that if COCOBOD was focused on this core mandate, they would have found money to alleviate this
we wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have been here.
Okay.
And we all know it's a public information where COCOBOD was doing roads more than even the Ministry of Roads and Highways and Feeder Roads.
That's not correct.
You understand.
That's not correct.
So Evans, what we are saying as an LBC is that we want to address the issue. The issue is that the farmer needs to.
So you pay some of the farmers?
Yes, we
How
pay
many
substantial.
farmers in all? Do you reckon?
I can't indicate it.
I mean, as a group, how many farmers were you?
We know cocoa farmers by an aggregator about 1 million.
Okay.
Cocoa smallholder cocoa farmers are about 1 million. But I must
okay, go on. Yeah.
I must indicate that substantial of these farmers have been paid, because if you cross-check with the banks, the money we owe the banks is far.
So what you're saying is that you have paid one majority of these farmers?
Yes, majority.
So you have a minority of farmers that need...
Yes, correct.
Okay.
But we are still indicating that COCOBOD should pay us so that we can pay
The rest.
the rest of the farmers and the banks.
And we'll be speaking to a farmer very shortly who will join us. But the question that you've been asked is, if you have sold, I believe you said, 530,000 metric tons, why don't you have the money?
Okay, Evans, I will answer that question, but just give me some 2 minutes to rebut some few things that Fifi has said. In fact, I am happy today on this show that the suppositions that Fifi have been making today, he is now making certain propositions. Now, I'm pointing to Fifi. It is a matter of fact. Same was positing some expenditure or debt obligations that COCOBOD owed. It is right that when Fifi's administration was exiting, within 3 years, 2019, 2020, 2021, they signed or awarded Cocoa Road contract amounting to 21.5 billion. At a point, PPLC, they have sat in a meeting and PPLC have told them that, look, your revenues coming in do not support the award of such contracts, so do not. I am just bringing out this fact because of what Same said, and it is a fact that he can never contest. Again, it is also a fact that when Fifi and his boss, when they were exiting office, they had left a debt of 32.91 billion, which included 350.
Can this conversation have a focus?
Hold on, Fifi, hold on. Hold on. The tangent you want to come down. Hold on.
Tangential issues.
Hold on.
They are not well focused.
Your thoughts aren't my thoughts.
No.
Tangential issues.
Your thoughts aren't my thoughts.
No.
Your thoughts aren't my thoughts.
Let me hear you.
This 32.91 billion included 350 million you had procured from AFDB for the purposes of rehabilitating 156,400 hectares.
So when someone says part of the money went to AFDB,
so hold on.
Reason why you do that.
It is an obligation. We are servicing that. But the unfortunate thing is that, ask Fifi, that when they took the $350 million plus another 700 million cedis, COCOBOD money, they were able to deliver only 40,000 hectares. Only 40,000 hectares. So about 110,000 hectares. Fifi's administration weren't able to do what?
Okay, so
hold on. Fifi did say, no, hold on.
I'm coming.
Let me just answer a question that Fifi posed.
You'll come. The reason why I allowed you is because I see how this circles back to the farmer. He says, because you haven't paid him, you can't pay the farmer. I'm coming. No. Yes, my question to you. Are you saying that because of these things that you inherited, was the reason why when you got the funds, you could not prioritize him? Because he says that if you had prioritized him, you would have paid more farmers.
Okay.
Is that your explanation?
Okay.
That's why you're having money to give him? You got some funds.
Hold on.
But you chose to do other things
hold on.
instead of giving.
It is not necessarily the case, but it is the case Fifi alluded to. Because if you listen to the elucidation Fifi...
No, I'm asking you a question about Fifi.
No, it is not about Fifi.
I'm asking COCOBOD.
I am answering the question.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying,
why didn't you prioritize
I am asking the
LBC?
question, explaining to you that it is not necessarily about this, but it is about what Fifi told you. That when you are looking at the weighted average, you put into consideration certain commitments that you have. And that commitment included the debt that Fifi and his administration had gone to procure, which they did not use for the intended purpose. So certainly it is going to weigh the price or the FOB that you would declare. Fifi accepted that indeed, when you talk about rollover, he has accepted that they left a chunk of rollover, which is unprecedented. And now let me tell you the effect of that rollover. The effect is that if you are determining the free on-board price, and you want to get your weighted average, you factor that one in. And that is a correct statement to be made. And when you factor that one in, because it was at a low price of 2,600, and unfortunately for you, you are now having the prices being shopped up, then it means that quantum is going to weigh the price that you will be able to declare for the farmer to benefit. It is going to weigh it. And Fifi, you said anybody who will dwell on that does not understand the nitty-gritty of whatever.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, Fifi, if somebody makes assertion to this,
The person is telling you that you have left me a cost, and the cost is that if you signed a contract of a contract price of about 2,600, and today I am using 4,850 price to service, then it means that I am losing one revenue, and two, I need additional funds to service that. And that is adversely going to affect the finances of the board.
Back to my question.
But the question I'm telling you that, yes, the 530,000,
yes, so
which have been assigned to the off-taker, I have told you that from November, as of last November, over 5 billion came in. Over 5 billion cedis came. As at December, over 6.4 billion came in. As of January, we have about 5.8 billion coming in. And as of last week, in fact, I didn't do my checks, but I was told that additional monies are coming. But as of last week, for this month, over 620 million had come in that had been paid. And that is why I said the issue is not generic in nature, because the funding model that we are practicing today, which Fifi's administration bequeathed to us, it is the off-taker that pre-finances the purchase of the cocoa. And that also brings to the fact that...
So so if they pre-finance, then you must have the money.
So if the person pre-finances, all those monies that were brought in were given to the designated LBCs that were being told to give. So COCOBOD was only facilitating the transfers of this money. So this money, the off-taker deposits into the account of what COCOBOD. COCOBOD transfers the money.
Again, just a cocoa farmer's question. So if they are pre-financing 530,000 metric tons, they should all have all the money.
No, so if they are pre-financing, what it means is that they are pre-financing at a certain percentage. So
what percentage of that?
So Fifi's administration started with 60-40. I am quoting you because we are part of the previous administration.
And now you are doing 80.
And now we are doing what? 80. And we are doing the 80.
So they pre-finance 80.
Yeah, so they pre-finance what? 80.
So do you have the 80?
So that is why I said the 80 that they brought, it's given to the designated.
So you've received received the value of all the 80?
No, we have not received all the 80.
Why?
Because one, you are trading with a person. And if you are continuously trading with a person, all outstandings or debts that the person owes you, the person is obliged, as and when, to do or to pay. But if I am trading with you, and because of a drop in the price, and I find your commodity high, and I have switched to a different jurisdiction to go and trade, it should tell you ordinarily that for me to pay you, I will use it to go and buy a commodity from somewhere to do whatever that I want to do. So if we are able to bring on board these people who, as a result of the high price that we have now, as compared to other jurisdictions.
But whose fault is that we have the high price?
You see, whose fault? No, it is no fault of anybody. It is no fault of anybody because, one, you did not lock up contract because you were not doing syndication. Because if you were doing syndication, you were going to pay for what? The interest on it. But I have always maintained, because you see, the explanation they have been given, moving away from the syndication, is that we were going to pay a certain percentage to the foreign banks, sometimes 10% and all that. But I have a document that can even show you that when Fifi's administration even drew down $600 million as at the 2023, the basis point that they were charged was even higher, and it's as a result of you.
I mean, as for the syndication, we've gone past that. We all know that is no longer there. So it is no longer. It is not. You see, policy. It is no longer. I want to return to a point. I want to
just under 10 seconds.
The syndication doesn't.
I know, but under 10 seconds. No,
it doesn't. I want to go to the farmer. The farmer is the.
No, but the point that.
But before I do that,
the point that I want to make.
Before I do that,
the point that I'm making.
You've made a point about syndication. I'm saying syndication is a dead matter because we all know we are not doing syndication anymore.
Yes, so if we are not doing syndication, whereby we are not having a dedicated.
So my question to you,
then it should be blamed.
Break this down for me. You say that the price is high, right? And so the off-takers are simply finding alternatives. But are you talking about the producer price?
So I'm talking about the producer price.
But that you said that.
Yes, we did say that.
Yeah. So
yes, we did say the producer price.
Then you admitting that you obviously was a bit erroneous in your decision.
No, we never made any mistake. We never made any mistake.
But because it's based on considering all the factors and the projections.
We never made any mistake. We were very sensitive to the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Yeah.
Because look,
but at what cost?
Hold on.
Because you have to balance all that.
It wasn't at any cost. Anybody presenting that to you is not correct.
No, I'm just using your own words.
No, that's what I'm telling you.
The price is high, but you set the price.
That is what I'm telling you. That look, in the 2024-25 season, we only declared an FOB of 4,850 because we had a chunk of rollover to do. But thankfully, when we came to the 2025-2026, even though the prices were hovering around the 7,000-8,000, we were able to declare an FOB of 7,200 and give the cocoa farmer 5,040.
Okay.
As against $3,100.
Okay.
That's even at the time that the price was around 12,000. Fifi and his administration only declared what? Only declared 4,000.
I want to bring in the cocoa farmer.
Only 4,000.
I want to bring in Patrick. We have Patrick on. Patrick is joining us. He was supposed to join us on Zoom, but I believe because he may be on a cocoa farm, we can speak to you on the phone. Do I have Patrick on? Okay. Patrick, hello, Patrick. Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, have you been paid?
Certainly, I have been paid.
Okay, good. Good. You've been paid all that you're owed?
Yes.
Did you manage to sell all your beans?
I was able to do so.
Fantastic. So you are in the number that you mentioned of those who have been paid. Okay. But do you have colleagues, friends, cocoa farmers who haven't been paid?
Yes, I have some, so many of them over here.
Okay.
And in fact, we are crying. The rate at which we are crying is too much. It's very severe. So one thing is, most of these farmers rely on the cocoa. They are their source of income or livelihood. So due to the non-payment of what they prove, but they are finding it difficult to make ends meet. And due to that, some people are not also even selling their cocoa again, because even if they send it to the buyer, no money for them. So they are just holding their cocoa in their room.
Okay. And as a cocoa farmer, were you paid immediately your beans were purchased, or we had a delay?
Actually, the firm that I sell my beans, it's cash and carry. You give your beans, then you are paid.
Okay.
With the company that I'm working with.
Okay. Okay. And so let me ask you, you're a cocoa farmer, so you must have a view on this. The challenge that your other colleagues are facing, they're not being paid, etc. Do you understand what is happening, really? Have you been told? What's your own view on the way the cocoa sector has been managed?
Well, I know something well about what's happening. But if you want to, most of these people are illicit. So no matter what you see, all that they are demanding for is their money.
Basically.
So what is going on at the office?
They really don't care.
They are not ready to
give me the cocoa, give me my money.
All that they are demanding for is their money. Because they don't know the gap, the fees or the buyers that they know. So in the West, they have the money, then the farmers come out and buy, and then do not listen to whatever is coming from the government to work for.
I'm pretty sure you've listened as a cocoa farmer. Now that, this has become a topical issue, the president is chairing an emergency cabinet meeting on this tomorrow. I'm very sure you've been following the discussions, both here on the show and elsewhere. You must have a view on that. You must have a certain understanding of what is happening and what this means for your own future, because, again, you remain a cocoa farmer. And this may come back, it probably will take a few months or so to reverse this. Share with me if you have any thoughts on this. As the president goes into this meeting tomorrow, what would you want him to do or know from a cocoa farmer's point of view?
Well, all that I want to hear from the government is making the money available for the farmers to get what they produce. Because, as I said, most of the farmers, those who have their work getting admission to the tertiary institutions, even the second cycle, they are finding it difficult to send their work. And due to this, I can say just about 3 days ago, I met a farmer who was saying, yes, you are saying we didn't sell our land to the LBCs. And here's the case, our food days have been bought that we are not getting money. So if that is the case, we are going to sell our land or our farms to the LBCs so that we get money. So all that we are praying for, is the government or the president or something for that maybe our money should be paid in due course so that the families will be relieved. But I can tell you, in my community, most of the people are ready to sell out their land to the LBCs. Or they say they cannot produce the beans, sell it to the buyers, and then finally going to get their money. So we are pleading that tomorrow the meeting will be fruitful for the farmers, for us to hear something good. We encourage that. Otherwise, I don't know what might happen in the future.
Yeah. Patrick, thank you very much. And I'm very sure the ministers and the team meeting the president tomorrow, they're listening and watching what you've just said there. And I think he just touched on something that is really alarming. We all already knew, and Fifi touched on it, that the Galamsey problem has been part of the reason why we struggled. But this, he says, is only going to carry the few good ones standing to say, well, listen, I held this land for so long for cocoa. I have not been paid. Let me just give it away. Because there's instant cash there. Fifi, I'll come to you, but that will be a concern for you.
Correct.
You know, that will be a huge concern.
Yes,
because this
correct.
is going to encourage a lot more people to just turn over their cocoa farms.
The concerns of farmers are our priority because we are the only institution when it comes to economics or financials that we interface with the farmer. So if we indicate that we want our money to be paid, it's basically we are doing it on behalf of farmers. So let me use this opportunity to thank Patrick and also the farmers that are listening, that indeed we are engaging COCOBOD, and then we believe that as we are engaging, we will be able to get the money, and as soon as the money comes, we'll pay. Again, let me indicate that apart from settling the outstandings, we also, as I indicated, we need to be prioritized. We also need to bring the cocoa that is left up country, because we need January, February, as the farmers continue to farm, and the cocoa cycle is from September to October. So one of the...
so there are cocoa in cocoa sacks in warehouses sitting? Correct. Okay. Do you know what's the quantum?
The quantum is what COCOBOD research...
COCOBOD, your figure is what? 50,000 metric tons or? 70,000.
Yeah,
50 says it's around 300,000.
So I don't know where he's getting the figure from.
Okay.
Well, if you indulge me, because I've listened to the two of them, and then you come back to them again.
There's a reason why, because he's...
So our appeal is that it's not paying the debt only, but getting money to also bring the rest of the cocoa that the farmers are continuing to produce. So as I indicated, we're in a meeting with COCOBOD at the moment. Then,
what do you think the solution should be? Then I'll come to that, and people will have a final bite.
You see,
the president is meeting tomorrow in the
yes, the solution.
What do you say?
The solution.
Yeah.
The solution.
Give me a second.
The solution to the cocoa farmer and the LBCs is that they need to be a bold step.
Okay.
What
should that be?
The bold step is that wherever we find money, we should get the money available, settle the debt, and then get money in place to bring the cocoa that is left on up country. As simple as that, because there are mechanisms that you can work with it to trigger terminal price. COCOBOD needs
to tell us.
That. But,
I mean, the president may be listening to you. He may.
There are mechanisms. If you understand the cocoa trade,
I don't understand. The majority of people watching you don't understand either.
The sensitivity of the market. The solution is that the cocoa that is left on the field, government should find money. Bring the
but that's very simple. How?
Process.
I think
process it.
You seem to have
process it. Yes, okay. Process it and keep. Are you getting it?
Okay.
The rest of
process
the cocoa.
It locally.
Yes, and keep it. And this would trigger some, if you understand the market dynamics. Okay. So for us, we have indicated in all our discussions that we need to engage. And we are engaging. Okay. We need to brainstorm, and together, when you look at the cream of people, the repertoire of information and experience our members have, we can really be part and parcel of the solutions
Fifi, let me hear you now. And add to that what you think the solution should be.
Well, Evans, no matter the tangential issues raised, no matter the blame game, it will not exculpate persons who were tasked with the responsibility of managing COCOBOD, predicting right what the price will be, such that they will get it right and will not find ourselves in this situation. The tangential issues raised, the name calling, the accusations, it will not exculpate them from the negligence they have performed, the negligence they have exhibited that has led us to this point. Because it is the responsibility of Ghana COCOBOD to ensure that at the time of determining the producer price, you must have a visibility, you must have a better understanding of what the market will be, such that you are able to sell at the right time, at the right price, in order for you to pay the farmer and also to take care of the industry costs. They have not done that. They have led us to this problem where now it has led us to the point where there's a need for cabinet to call for an emergency meeting. And even at the time, they are still trying to go on the route of name calling and blame game. Instead of admitting that yes, we have a challenge, yes, there is a problem, yes, we must find a way of addressing the challenge we have. They're still in the same game of rather shifting the blame. If they continue on that route, I believe we will not find a solution. You asked me, what do I think is the way out? Two things. I still hold a position strongly that the problem we face today is nothing else but the poor prediction of the market. The poor prediction has led us to a state where now COCOBOD is unable to sell. The COCOBOD chief executive and his assigns are still telling us that Ghana cocoa is expensive. It is not true. It has always been the case that Ghana's cocoa is premium and it sells higher than other countries. What it means is that in fact, it has always been the case, so there's nothing new to say that this time Ghana cocoa is expensive and that is why people are not buying. So that whole argument must be jettisoned somewhere else. What it rather means is that because they have pegged a price at 7,200, not as it's 5,000, actually 7,200, because you need to take care of other industry costs. The 7,200, and now the price is around 4,000. How do you pay for the 7,200? So he will come and tell you that it is because Ghana cocoa is expensive. It is not because Ghana cocoa is expensive. It is because he misjudged the market, and that's why we are here. There's one thing very important we need to note. I expect that tomorrow, by the time they are done with the meeting, the president is either going to make sure either the chief executive or the managing director of Ghana Cocoa Marketing Company, one of them is walking out of the door. Because the two of them don't see eye to eye. There's a serious turf war going on between them. It's affecting the sales executive committee that is supposed to predict the market, and that is part of the reason why we are here. So apart from either the president saying that, well, they are going to reduce the farmer price or they are going to make money available to cushion the farmer, clearly the chief executive and the managing director of Cocoa Marketing Company have demonstrated that the two of them cannot work together. And if they cannot work together, the effect is with the farmer suffering at this time, and maybe one of them must walk out of the door. And
I have a message I need to read just a second. I'll give you a minute to wrap up. Yes. A message from a very respected player in the industry. He says, there are many pockets to the problem on non-payments. One, cocoa delivered to the ports not paid during this 2025-2026 season. Cocoa produced by farmers but yet to be purchased by LBCs to be delivered to COCOBOD this 2025-2026. You also have, and then cocoa which will be produced between now and September ending when the 2025-2026 crop year closes. And then 4, then those that have not been paid for the beans delivered in 2024-2025 crop year. If off-takers take the first funding and give the funds to LBCs, the LBCs will buy the beans and then deliver to the COCOBOD back. COCOBOD has to get payments done. I guess it's the view.
But if you indulge me, 30 seconds.
30 seconds for him. Because
there's an illegality that COCOBOD is perpetuating.
30 seconds, no.
Evans,
yes.
Evans, You see, let me read something. I gave you something.
30 seconds.
Yeah, so 30 seconds. You see, this was a letter emanated from Fifi's office. 22nd
Is this
of
conversation
August,
about
30 seconds.
2024. And it was signed by the chief executive.
Which says what?
Paragraph 2. You see, in fact, they were responding to certain allegations made by the minority then. You see, paragraph 2 said, a complete lie about the paradigm shift, which is in relation to
you
the
don't have
funding
time.
model. It says that the assertion by the minority caucus that the international banks have rejected the Ghana COCOBOD request and that COCOBOD was chased away from the market, blah, 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 is false. Indeed, notwithstanding our intention to win off syndication transactions, we still have committed contracts that need to be fulfilled through the syndicated process. And I am putting to Fifi that after they had written this, there was no iota of trace that any financial institution committed a dime.
Stop the lies. Stop the lies.
Committed
Stop
a
the
dime
lies.
to the financing of what?
Stop
The
the
purchase of
lies.
cocoa.
Okay,
I'm telling
by the
you,
way,
I have
at
read
the heart
something
of
that
this,
you
we've got
authored.
the cocoa farmer.
Signed by the then chief
And the
executive.
president
I'm
will
telling you
share
that.
the meeting and find a solution. Enjoy the rest of your evening.